Welcome to Cooksey and the Coach. What's up, guys? Missing the coach, missing Watson. So my ass is flying solo today. I hope you don't mind. Um, Watson has a big announcement coming up. He has got a new job. It has to do with the motorcycle industry and what he's great at, marketing. So I'm gonna let him make the big announcement next time he's on. But I want to cover a couple things before I get into Denver, which was an interesting round. So anyway, Ryan Dungey, the crown, the man, he's back. He has been flirting with this for the last couple of years. I thought he went out early, and I thought he should have taken a year off instead of just going straight retirement. Um, I think this is great. I think riders, and I've been saying this for as long as you guys have been listening to me, I've been saying motocross has it wrong on age. You're not old until you're 40. 30 is not old. 30 is your prime, in my opinion, unless you have injuries. That obviously changes everything. But 30 is the new 20. You're mature, you're smart, you have, confidence, you know what to do, your body's strong enough. The only downfall is what we saw with Eli. Your ACL, your knee joints, some of those things don't become as pliable when you get older. So you're a little bit more susceptible with some of those injuries. But hey, not everything's perfect. I'm excited to see Dungey racing the Outdoor Nationals. How will he do? I would say top 5. I don't expect him to win. Since he's been out, he's extremely competitive and just a complete badass. Will he figure it out and get on a podium or win by the end of the year? I don't know about win. He's going to have to get lucky. And when I say lucky, just a couple breaks go his way. A guy goes down in a moto, and one of the fast guys, Ferrandis, Tomac. Well, we'll get to Tomac in a second, but if he even races, but it's going to take a little bit of luck. And Caroli, don't expect much. He doesn't know these tracks. He's already retired, so he's turned it off mentally. He's mid to late 30s. He's awesome, but I just think he's checking off something on the bucket list. I would like to say he's going to stick around for the whole year, but I think he's going to get smoked pretty bad in the first couple rounds, and I doubt he's going to want to hang around to ride around and battle with 10th place guys. Which, like I said, he's retired. This is actually lower than the equivalent of when Villapoto wanted to retire and went over to Europe and didn't look real good. I think we're looking at a similar scenario here, but he's not being forced to come over here. He's choosing to come over here, where Villapoto was kind of forced to give Monster money back or go race. Still, AMA and Mike Pelletier have not allowed Gorbachev, Yevgeny, I'm sorry, Yevgeny is not his name. Yevgeny, see, I got it. Yevgeny Bobrachev to race this series, which is ludicrous, people. It's so dumb. Thank you for catering to the 1% of your fans who are left-wing libtards. The rest of us understand that a guy who races under a Russian license in the FIM, well, in hindsight, if he knew they were going to invade, maybe he would have changed that ahead of time. But he actually lives in the Netherlands. He's been there for 15 years. His wife is half Ukrainian. How? In God's, just explain to me why it's justified that he can't come race the USA National Series. He's not representing Russia. He's not flying the flag. He's not pro-war. He's not pro-Putin. These aren't things he's doing. So can we please let this guy come over and race? There's a lot of people at Munn Racing and Ricky Renner, and these guys have busted their ass to get him over here and give him this opportunity. And he wants to race the whole series. So, yeah, it's really, really dumb. In hindsight, honestly, if I'm a pro racer right now, I skip the entire outdoors. Why would I go race for nothing? So, entry fee, $350. License fee, $500 for your pro license. So once I've got those covered, I'm $850 in the hole, and I haven't even got a bike. I haven't got anything. So at the races, they race for $70,000. Okay, well, if you take out the $350 that every rider pays to enter the race, we're talking about 80 pro racers at a national splitting up $35,000. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing, knowing how much money is being raked in by MX Sports, MAV TV. It's ludicrous. So the tracks have to pay an exorbitant amount to have the national. So they pay that to MX Sports. Right off the top, it's $100,000 to MX Sports. So right off the top, before not counting t-shirt money, not counting all the different sources of income that MX Sports has, they get $100,000 from the track guaranteed. Done. That's insane. They get $1 for every pre-sold ticket. They get all the money from the sponsors. You know, those 30 to 40 sponsors behind the starting gate. All those sponsors are between 50 and 150 per year to be on there. So yeah, the 12 guys that MX Sports brings to each round, they're very, 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 very profitable. They're a lot more profitable than any team. And I'm not saying they shouldn't make money. MX Sports should absolutely make money. They're a for-profit organization. They do a great job in the way that they have the series look, uniformed. Everything's great except for the cash haul at the end. And I'm not asking for anything that's unreasonable. Every other professional sport is around 50% split with the players / racers, whatever. F1, football, they're all about 50% because they understand without the game and the profit, like there is, without the game and the players, you can have all the fireworks and banners and everything you want. Nobody pays to see that. Yes, that actually adds to the whole aura. It makes it feel really good. But we don't come to see that. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for racers. We want to see the best racers in the world do battle. Much like prize fighters, these guys race for money. Right now, their only source of income comes from their outside sponsors, which should be in addition to making money from the race. Give 40%, just 40%. Loosen up those purse strings, MX Sports. If you guys want to know the numbers, go check out my article I did on Glenn Helen. It's at Cooksey Media on Facebook. I pinned it to the top. Just take a look at the numbers right there. And that's I have contracts from the tracks. I've seen exactly how much money comes in and how much goes out. And then think about how many people are at that race and the fact that all those riders, 80 riders that qualify, split up $70,000. And they pay $35,000 in for entry fees. That's not counting their pit people. That's not counting their mechanic who has to pay $65. And everyone else who's in the pits with them pays $65. It's a joke. It's a cash grab. Let's split the profit 40% to the riders. Let's have them racing for $500,000 per round. You don't think that's going to make the field deeper? You don't think that's going to make guys in 40th place who can at least make enough money to get to the next round? Right now, they're literally racing for their entry fee back. That's about it. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get off this. I digress. I get really pissed off when I talk about this. At least Supercross, yes, they have an entry fee, but it pays enough. I wouldn't say enough. I would like to see more, but it's not horrible. And you get better exposure for your sponsors, so you can actually promote more. Like, look at what Logan Carnow's done. Logan Carnow's done a great job because thanks to NBC having a great TV package and, a little bit better payback than the Outdoor Nationals and less expenses because you run 2 30-minute motos in the heat, you hammer your stuff. It's just not profitable to ride the Outdoor Nationals. It's a professional hobby is what it is. So I would like to turn it into a professional sport and no longer a professional hobby where they just throw around the word prestige, prestige. Oh, it's so much prestige. Well, it'd have more prestige if you actually made it into a professional sport, people. Davey, Goobs, you listening to me? Yeah, I know you are because you stalk me on everything that I do. And I had to actually post it because you were saying that I was obsessed with you. But whatever, I'm going to digress. Davey's an idiot. Yeah, I would skip that, chase purse money all summer, and look for World Supercross if I was a privateer. And I did find something kind of funny, interesting about Denver Supercross. So Denver Supercross, Dan Hubbard, who's the announcer for the daytime program, RDL, does a great job. Him and Daniel Blair crush it. But I noticed one of the words he uses is world championship. He called it the world championship in Salt Lake. He called it multiple times. He said the world championship in Salt Lake concludes. I'm like, that's not the world championship. This is the national championship. This is the national Supercross championship. The World Series is in the fall. Now, if we want to follow these guys' silly rules, okay, so if you want to call it a world, you have to have some races outside the United States. You have to have, I mean, we do have a very diverse field of riders from different countries, but it's all United States based. If you don't travel, how can it be a World Series? It just can't. It's a national series. But it's still the biggest Supercross series going, absolutely, even with the World Series. But him calling it that makes me think somebody at Feld is a little bit worried about this world thing, and that it might take some money out of their pockets, which I don't think it will, because they're not directly competing with them. Outdoor Nationals should be shaking in their boots and freaking out because, one, their TV program sucks. MAV TV, and you're going to charge me $99 a year for MAV TV? Oh, man, are you kidding me? That's garbage. That's absolute garbage. Do not charge me $99 for Outdoor Nationals. I'm dumb, and I have a problem, and I'm going to pay it. But now you're just stealing from me because you know that you have us diehards by the balls, and we're not going to miss it. So instead of, letting me have my Peacock, that whole deal fell apart because of money. There was about $1 million difference between what they wanted and what they got. I don't know the details, but I just know it all comes down to greed. They should have, for their partners, since MX Sports doesn't pay riders enough to actually make a living, so they have to make it off of promotions. I would think they would have, with that business plan, they would have been able to make sure that they had the best exposure for their potential sponsors. Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Suzuki, the people who actually pay these riders and allow them to make a living doing this and making millions of dollars. They don't make it from the series, they make it from their sponsors, and their sponsors are looking for exposure. And what they've done by charging $99 for MAV TV is extremely limit the exposure these teams will get by racing this series for free. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm Honda, I go, let's see, it's going to cost this much. Maybe we just do World Supercross. It's probably going to have a better TV program, and it seems like it's more prestigious. Why would I waste money on this outdoor thing that, it's stupid. It's stupid, people. These guys are tripping over their own dicks to try and make this happen. If they just, honestly, this whole thing, I wouldn't be talking about this if a few years ago when the series became pretty profitable, if MX Sports had just said, all right, hey guys, we're doing better. Hey riders, that $70,000 purse is now going to be $250 per round. Great, spread it out. Nobody complains. They are very thankful, even if it's not even close to 40%. That doesn't matter. They'll take it. They'll take it and they'll be happy. So anyway, I can see that they're obviously concerned with what the World Supercross is doing. World Supercross is using an F1 model where they're going to give half the money to the teams to keep them as franchises and keep them going. And I think it's going to put a lot of pressure, and already is, obviously, by the fact that Dan Hubbard used World Supercross. They're feeling it. And I know I've talked to multiple riders. They all want to go race it. There's guys who are contracted with, you're not going to see the top guys. Sexton's probably not going to be there. You're not going to see these guys that are contracted with the normal contract where it's Supercross and outdoors. They're not going to go do it. But anyone who has an out in their contract, maybe Eli Tomac, the guy who just won the Supercross championship. Okay, so he hasn't signed his 23 deal. I'm wondering if this has anything to do with he just wanted to clinch a title. Was his knee hurt? Is it worse than we thought? Is it an ACL? Is he pushing through it? Is he going to have to take the summer off? Are they not sure if he's going to race next year? Because if you have to do an ACL, these are all things he's going to have to think about. But what if he takes the summer off, fixes the ACL, comes back for World Supercross, and now he's AMA and World Supercross champion? That's pretty badass. I don't know. It's something he'd have to negotiate in his deal for 23 and 24, but I can see him doing it. You're not going to see Jason Anderson. He's signed with Kawasaki. Kawasaki's not going to let their their guy here. He's winning all the rounds. He's won the last 3. He'll probably win Salt Lake. He looks amazing. I mean, his career resurgence is, I don't know that we've seen a guy like this, especially somebody known as, Team Fried, Mr. Fun, Mr. Party, become such a hard worker and such a badass later in his career. Those guys usually burn out a little bit early, but clearly his marriage and his life just agrees with Jason Anderson right now. And this dude, I'm really pissed about what Malcolm did at Daytona. It has ruined the rest of the series. Right now, imagine if Jason Anderson didn't get cleaned out by Malcolm. Malcolm wins Daytona, Anderson second, Tomac's third. All of those guys are still alive in this, and we're talking about going to Salt Lake for the championship finale. Instead, a lot of you guys say, oh, well, he needed to pay Anderson back for dirty riding. Maybe, but pick your spots, dumbass. Don't do it when you're going to win. How far away does that win look for Malcolm right now? I mean, he looks like he's never going to win. Unfortunately, that very well might be the case. I hope I'm wrong, because I love Malcolm. He's one of the best things to happen to this sport. His personality, his riding style. I'm a huge fan of him and his brother. They broke down the race barrier. And if you don't think they had to deal with a lot of racism, you're crazy. Our sport has a lot of bullshit and a lot of knuckleheads in it. And they have gone through a lot to be where they're at. So, respect. Marvin. Speaking of World Supercross, I know Marvin's looking to go World Supercross. He wanted to go outdoors, but KTM, I'm sorry, whoever's making decisions over there, they get the dunce award for this year by making those guys, force them to ride the poor settings on the new bike. You've got the defending champion, you got Marvin. I mean, it couldn't have looked much worse. They've ruined poor Max Voland. Listen, right now, this is a perfect example of when too much power and too much credit goes to one place. I think there's some executives there that forgot how they got to the top. And that happens all the time. I see companies do it all the time. They stop doing what they were doing to get on top, and they start doing what other people did when they were there. I'm like, wait a second. Don't you idiots realize those are the same things that allowed you to catch them? Because they were doing shitty stuff. Now, just because you're on top doesn't mean you should do those same things and strong arm people and bully. And how dumb is it for KTM? Okay, so they're searching for an outdoor guy. They've got Crowley, Hurlings. They're bringing back Dungey. Like, they're desperate to find something. Hey, idiots, Marvin's right there. Said he wants to race outdoors. Pay the man and send him outdoors. He'll win. Maybe not the championship, but he'll be on the podium and he can win races. He's good outdoors. He's in shape. He's technical. The guy can ride. It's just stupid. With that said, I'm actually still glad that Crowley's coming over. Dungey's coming out of retirement. I genuinely hope it goes good for Ryan Dungey. As boring as his podium speeches are, this is a great story to see a champion like him leave and then come back. History tells us it's a tough look. There's only one guy I know that really took some serious time off and was considered retired that came back and actually did really well, and that was Kevin Windham. When he broke his femur, left Suzuki, came back on the Honda outdoors. He's the only one I've seen really disappear and then come back and do as good or better. The rest of them, Mike Kudrowski, not so good. There's a few times that, McGrath did okay in his comeback, but it was what it was. He was just having fun. He was testing. He was fast enough, so he decided to do 6 rounds. Yeah. Chase Sexton. Oh, my God. Listen, he probably wasn't going to win Denver, but he crashed out of the lead again. He needs some sort of hypnosis, or maybe just stop hitting his head. Something's going on with him, and maybe it's a maturity thing, because he's only 22, and like I said, I don't believe your athletic prime is until you're 30. So maybe it's immaturity, maybe it's lack of focus, maybe he's just pushing to the edge where he makes a mistake. but he seems to always make a mistake when he's leading. I don't know how you fix it, and I also have to remind myself, we look at him and we look at Hunter Lawrence. Hunter Lawrence is in the 250 class, and we're praising him for doing so good and winning races. They're at the same age. So should we really be that hard on Sexton? Nah, I still think he's going to be a champion, and I think he's going to figure this thing out. He's good, he's dedicated, and the thing I really like about him is he's strong-willed. He has that self-belief, even if it's almost borderline on like crazy. He just thinks he can do anything. And I mean, it's proof in the things that he jumps and does, and just, yeah. So then we go to Webb, Cooper Webb, who finished 6th, let's see, 5th? Yeah. He's having the worst season of a defending champion that I can remember since Jeff Emig. Jeff Emig had some personal problems, went through, those are well documented, overcome them, badass dude. But I don't think they're the same type of problems that Webb's having. I think Webb is, KTM and their hard line on this new bike, by not letting him ride the old bike. First off, you put him in the wrong mindset. Then you tried to force him to stay with Alden, which he didn't want to do. You let him go, but then as soon as something went wrong, everyone points the finger at it, which I don't think Alden would have fixed anything. I think had he stayed in the Baker factory or not, we're looking at the same results with Cooper Webb. But just, yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Anderson, or yeah, the only championship defense that went worse was Anderson, but it's because he broke his arm. He probably would have got it together. He got a second. It was a 4th round before he broke his arm. Justin Barcia, man, he crashed, but he was 7th. I would like to see TLD. I text Tyler Keefe to see if there was any plans on adding a second 450 to this team. There's not. I was dreaming. I was hoping. I really would like to see 2 450s on this TLD team. They seem to have a really good formula. They seem to be having fun. They represent a lot of the things I like about the sport. I just want to see more of them out there. Brayton, he's still hanging around there. He did great in Denver. He's hanging around. He's 38 years old. This is his last run at AMA Supercross. I do hear he is shopping for a World Supercross ride, and I mean, why not? The guy's well known throughout multiple countries, off-season races. He's the king. He's been doing that for a while, where he sits out outdoors and then does Australian series. He does all the off-season races and comes in prepared. Now he can just do those off-season races this year and then park it after. So Ryan Brees, stoked on my guy Ryan Brees. He is such a badass. There's another guy that's probably going to go World Supercross. Let's not forget, this is the German champion. He won the German championship over Tyler Bowers and all the European guys. He's no problem traveling the country or traveling the world. He's tough as nails. He's really finding his groove. One thing when you get Ryan Brees, you get a guy who works his ass off and will give you everything and will fight for everything and will back down from nobody. So I hope one of these teams signs him for World Supercross, and we'll see him out there. The track out there was so dry and so slick, and I wasn't even upset about it. I feel like it's the same for everybody, and that's what Supercross is. It's not supposed to be the exact same every single week. Was it ideal? No, and I mean, we all want it to be better, but if it's not, it's no big deal. It's still the same for everybody, so I don't really want to complain about it. 250s, move over to there. Christian Craig looked nervous. I'm a huge Christian Craig fan. My buddy Connor Fields is his mental coach / mentor, and talks him through this stuff and has done wonders with Christian and his abilities. And yeah, I don't know what to do. I just want him to close this out. I kind of, I love that Hunter won and it's taken it to the final round. And as a fan, I'm excited because there's actually a chance that we could have some excitement in Salt Lake. But part of me is like, well, I kind of wish he would have wrapped it up so he could have just went for the win and went Jet versus him at Salt Lake. But either way, he has to get 14th. If he gets 15th and Hunter wins, it's a tie in points, and Hunter will have 5 wins, and Christian will have 4, and Hunter would be champion. So if he can just get 15th or 14th, done deal. Typically, I would say that's a no-brainer, but in an East-West shootout, things happen. But I still think Christian's going to wrap this up, move on to a 450 outdoors, and join the Rockstar Husky team next year. And I'm excited to see what he does as a full-time 450 guy. I don't expect him to be a championship threat the first year, but I wouldn't be shocked if he wins a race. The dude's talented, and if there's a big whoop section, bet your ass Christian Craig will be able to win next year. Hunter Lawrence. It's funny because he's the same age as Chase Sexton. He's a little further behind in his career progression. He's still in the 250 class where, Sexton has already got championships and moved up to the 450s. But Hunter looks really good. And the way Christian pressures him, this dude's got ice in his veins. He doesn't make mistakes. You can ride on his ass, and his racecraft is really, really good. And that's going to serve him well as he moves up to the 450 class. That's the thing a lot of these really fast kids and 250 riders, they win on speed and just send it. They don't necessarily win on racecraft. Both Lawrence brothers have amazing racecraft, and that's going to serve them well throughout their careers. And I wonder if it's because they practice together and they probably mess with each other a little bit, and it gives them a chance to battle with somebody that you completely trust, but also is really good. Mosman, a.k.a. Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm kidding. My boy Kenny Watson gave him that because we were talking about him, and he had a homeless guy stay with him in his hotel room, and I just said I wouldn't be surprised if he had bodies in his trunk, but that's why we call him Jeffrey Dahmer. He's probably one of the nicest kids out there, and I'm dead wrong, and I'm just an asshole, which, hey, shocker, I probably am. But yeah, he looked good, got up there, got second place. Craig went down. He's just a touch off those top guys. If he can't get the start, he kind of loses. Once he loses them, he loses them. But I think if he could get a hole shot, he might be able to make something happen. And I wouldn't be shocked if he won in Salt Lake. Joe Schmoda. Man, been a tough year for Joe. Joe came in with title aspirations. Joe got his first win last year. And, you look to build off of that. You don't want to regress and not get a win. But I think the competition level's a little bit higher, and things didn't play out the same way. He came in trying to go for it, and he had a couple mistakes. And those mistakes, it's like Jeff Emig always talks about momentum. Momentum is key. Momentum, once you lose that momentum, it's hard to really change that mindset and get back up to being one of those guys. I think he will, and Joe he'll be just fine in the long run. I'd like to see how he does outdoors. It's a great chance for all these guys to reset and clear the slate and start over. Marchbanks, I think he should be on a 450. He looks great on the 250. The kid can ride. He's flat out talented. He's one of my favorite kids out there. He's a man, but he's big. He needs to be on a 450. And if I'm him right now, I start shopping for a 450 World Supercross ride. I skip outdoors. He's got Addison's disease. He's only 1 year out from being diagnosed with Addison's disease. Going outdoors isn't going to help that. That's going to make it worse. 2 30-minute motos at wide open in the heat. He still needs to recover. He's young. Let's not forget, he's 19, 20. He's not very old. He's still a very, very young guy, even though he's been around for quite a while. Let's not burn him out.